Today is Superman Day, and DC released a 2-minute long behind-the-scenes look at Superman, giving us some juicy new details, our best looks yet at most characters, and just general excitement. In this video, I'll be going over all of it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's get started. The behind-the-scenes footage immediately starts with a look at Superman, and throughout the trailer we get many new looks at Superman, some of which look better than we've ever seen before. The suit looks great in most shots. I think a lot of the shots we were shown either in the trailers or more so in promotional images didn't look as good as the suit actually looks for some reason. The colors look super nice in most shots. I'm a big fan of this shade of blue. I would change a few things here and there to make it a perfect suit, but also I think it'd be a shame if you started out with the perfect suit and then changed it from there, because there's no way he's only ever gonna have one suit. They have to sell toys, obviously. This shot right here that we see later of him lifting the car looks perfectly and quintessentially Superman. It's crazy because just a day before this, the Fantastic Four's second trailer released, and in that we see a shot of the Thing picking up a car that looks identical to the car that Superman picks up in his first comic image, a direct reference to Superman. This movie also does have some direct references to the Fantastic Four, like the existence of 4 different superheroes which seem to be inspired by the Terrifics, a team that was inspired by the Fantastic Four. Or better yet, is a direct, non-comedic parody of them. In this trailer we get our first good look at Metamorpho. In this shot right here, first of all we see that the robots are actually practical, which is surprising to me. I thought they were for sure CGI. I guess that's why they looked so real in the trailer. But in the back you see Metamorpho's torso, showing it'll be a suit he wears, not body makeup. The makeup is likely limited to just his face and his hands, as the hands combine with the suit, which we see in what is our first real look of Metamorpho. We get our first good look at him in what is either a photo shoot for the movie, which is the more likely case, or maybe an in-universe photo shoot of the Lord Tech heroes, because we see Hawkgirl do the same. Although we don't actually know if Metamorpho is going to be one of those heroes, it seems likely that he actually isn't, so it's more likely just a photo shoot for the movie and for posters of these characters. Either way, I think Metamorpho looks great. I love how vibrant the purple and oranges are and how generally not human he looks. The design pattern on the head having all sorts of curves and circles is new. It might take some time to get used to, but honestly, probably not too long. It definitely looks different from what I expected, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it really fits well with the rocky torso, as his head also looks like it's a bit of a rocky area with craters here and there. Like his whole body is a bunch of different rocky biomes that are differently colored and from different corners of the globe. I think it looks really cool, honestly. Before we got real looks at this character, I said that I would have preferred a CGI creation, and I don't know if I've changed my mind on that, but also I don't think I really have anything to complain about here. This definitely looks like Metamorpho and it looks great. His powers, however, should definitely be CGI. In this photo shoot, whether it be in universe or not, we get our first close-up look at Hawkgirl. Up close, this suit looks high quality, and Isabella Merced looks great in it. This is obviously a Lord Tech sponsored placeholder suit, but even with that, I kind of like it. I kind of like the color scheme. I think the helmet looks good, although I would have added white eyes instead of the open eyes. But generally speaking, I think this strikes a balance between clearly not being Hawkgirl's actual final suits, and yet still kind of looking good. Hawkgirl and Metamorpho show up just as they say the word justice, hinting that they are indeed members of the Justice League. But I think that was clear. They're working for Lord Tech. Maxwell Lord was a sponsor of the Justice League in the comics, specifically Justice League International. And if you look at their costumes, the logo spells out JLI, Justice League International. There's a J, an I in the middle, and then an L. It is also the logo for Lord Tech, but I think that's a hint right there. Sticking to these characters, we later see a behind-the-scenes stunt of Hawkgirl pushing someone out of what seems like a church. I can imagine that what is happening here has something to do with the heroes having become corporate agents and having lost touch with what it means to be a hero. Over Hawkgirl's case, because of how young she is, probably she's never learned what it means to be a hero. Superman should inspire them back to heroism, at least some of them, but before that happens, they'll do some less than heroic things. This might be one of them, Hawkgirl going a bit too far in her pursuit of what she believes is justice, but may actually be just a corporate interest. I could also definitely see this character, because he has white hair, be Simon Stagg, a character we don't know will appear in this movie, but is a key figure in Metamorpho's origin, and whose company, Stagg Industries, is appearing. She doesn't have wings in the shots we see her in, because they're all behind the scenes shots, and she'll be given wings through CGI, maybe always. It seems like a lot of the things in this movie are practical, and Hawkgirl's wings may not ever be one of them. This red and white ship is almost certainly Mr. Terrific's T-Sphere ship, which we've seen in set photos, and there will be a scene that involves him saving the Daily Planet staff using this. The inside fits Mr. Terrific's color scheme. It seems spherical and has multiple seats to fit the other members or maybe somebody he saves. Speaking of the Daily Planet, a lot of this teaser focuses on it and them, and specifically Lois Lane. This teaser focuses a lot on Clark, Lois, and Lex, which James Gunn has said are the three main characters of this movie, so that makes sense. And I gotta say, with all three of them, maybe it's just because I'm getting used to their looks, but they look more and more like their comic counterparts with each new look we get. Lois Lane specifically took me the longest to get used to, but in this teaser, I think she just looks like Lois Lane at this point. I think it helps that this teaser really focused on her. In the Daily Planet, behind Lois, we see what is likely her computer and an article about Lex Luthor. She'll likely be involved in taking him down, or at the very least, certainly investigating him. There are many monitors in the background with news and interviews, but unfortunately we can't quite make out what any of them say. We see the main Daily Planet trio together for the first time, and I gotta imagine this will be the best live action interpretation of that. They've never really managed to get all three right at once. The DCU didn't even try. Superman Lois didn't really do Jimmy well, and he was only in one episode. Meanwhile, here Jimmy Olsen looks ripped right out of the comics, and just from this shot alone, even if it is a behind the scenes, it looks like a live action My Adventures with Superman. Clark is holding up a prop we've actually seen before, a news article about the Hammer of Baravia, whom we see later and who I'll get back to. For right now, I'm talking about the Daily Planet. This shot shows every single one of the main Daily Planet characters aside from Clark. You could barely see Jimmy, and Steve Lombard is in the background, but this is our first good look at Perry White. There's also Lois Lane, Cat Grant, and Ron Troop, and this easily looks like it'll be the best live action interpretation of the Daily Planet staff. Not that there's really any true competition. Moving on to Lex Luthor, there's a lot to talk about here because this shot, for instance, is really interesting. We see Lex Luthor alongside his guards in some sort of room. I think it's probably the same room where a lot of the monsters are seen caged and where Superman ends up being caged that we see in the teasers. But next to him is this skinny white alien or monster looking character. My first thought is Metamorpho in his early stage of transformation, but I don't know, they just look too different, especially in the head shape. This could certainly be a white Martian, in which case the movie teases the Martian Manhunter. But then again, the white Martians have almost exclusively been used as either just villains or, in one case, a superhero. One random white Martian being on Earth and what is likely an experiment of Luthor's is unlikely. But maybe an experiment is exactly what this is. Ultraman matching Superman's strength and being masked has led to the theory that he is Bizarro. Maybe this white creature is an early attempt at cloning Superman's unstable DNA. Maybe it is Bizarro, but in an early form of his development. There are other options, like maybe it's Parasite, because he kind of looks like he could be, but also Parasite is usually purple and this guy is clearly white. Or maybe it's not white, this is not a clear image. If you do zoom in, it could maybe pass as being maybe green, in which case, what if this is the Martian Manhunter, who in this timeline maybe came to Earth and then was immediately scooped up by some sort of company, specifically LexCorp. There's nothing really to go off of here, but I mean, it would be a crazy twist. The very next shot gives us a great look at the Engineer, Ultraman, and the Luthor Corp guards, some of the primary antagonists of the movie. I love how this movie is using the green and purple color scheme and everything Luthor related. It really works to set these guards apart, for instance, and it could seamlessly lead into Lex Luthor adopting those colors into his suit, which I'm hoping that he uses in this movie. In this shot, we get our first good look at the live-action Rick Flag Sr., at least our first up-close look, and unlike the set photos, he actually does look like he has gray hair. It just from afar, it looks black. It's not white like his animated counterpart, but I'm glad that there's at least that. This shot shows some sort of armored big monster coming out of what looks like a portal of some kind. This is clearly the Hammer of Baravia that we heard of from a prop newspaper, like I mentioned earlier. He doesn't really resemble any comic character, but it is very possible that he's stepping out of a portal, maybe from the Phantom Zone, so maybe he is some sort of Kryptonian villain, or maybe he's coming from some other pocket dimension. James Gunn actually confirmed the inclusion of pocket dimensions here, so it is entirely possible. Aside from all that, there's many other shots, but nothing for me to really talk about, aside from how much I love the look of this movie. I think it's perfectly cast, is directed by someone with an honestly perfect track record when it comes to comic book projects, so I'm definitely hyped. Which is also true for Fantastic Four First Steps. These two movies are both about old-fashioned heroes who deserve a quintessential modern-day cinematic project, and hopefully they'll both be super and both be fantastic.